Runway has just released a brand new feature called Frames, which is their own image generator that has been built from the ground up. Now, it is capable of generating some beautiful images with amazing aesthetics, and in this video I'll be giving you a full in-depth guide on how to use Frames as well as various creative use cases. So let's get started. In order to access Frames from the home page, all you have to do is click on Start a Session, and it's going to bring you over to this page. So this is where all the magic happens, and before we actually start generating any imagery, you'll see over here that this is saved into a sessions folder, and in order to access the sessions folder you just click on this icon. Now you can see every time I create a new session, I've put it into different categories. So if I'm creating images for animals or models or text and logos, I like to have everything nice and organized, and I recommend that you guys do the same thing. It just makes your life a lot easier. So again, every time you create a new session, you will be able to name it over here at the top. I can't name the session just yet because I have to generate my first image. But yeah, we are in the section where we are actually going to be generating our images with frames. So you can see over here, this is our prompt box where we will be typing in our text. Over here at the bottom, I will be explaining this in more detail. These are basically styles. It's a way to generate images in particular styles, which is very useful. We can choose our aspect ratios over here, and we can also change the aesthetic range, which I will be explaining in detail. We can lock in a seed, which will keep the overall composition of an image for further images that get generated. And then over here, you can see that it's got frames selected. So with that information mentioned, let's go ahead and generate our first image. So Runway includes its own prompting guide for frames to get the best results. Now the link is in the description if you guys want to have a look at this, and I actually do recommend reading this because it's got other useful information over here with prompts for generating different effects. However, we are going to work a bit smarter in this tutorial, and I'll show you a neat little trick. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Now you guys can use ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity. I'm going to ask it to analyze this web page as well as the best practices, and then it's going to generate a simplified and advanced version of that prompt for us. So this just makes it easier for us to generate images on frames because we'll always get good prompts. So you guys can pause the video over here to see exactly what I've typed in, and then I've just supplied the actual web page, so the URL over here at the top, with this prompt. And now when I send this instruction through to ChatGPT, you can see it's searching the web and it's analyzing that web page, and there we go. It says, based on the frames prompting guide from Runway, here are 2 prompts for generating images using frames. So it gives me a simplified version and an advanced version as well. So now it's just a matter of typing another prompt. So if you can't think of any ideas for crafting more detailed prompts, you can just type something simplified. So I can say a Shiba Inu wearing yellow sunglasses, relaxing on a pool float. Now that alone would have been able to generate a good image with frames, but of course if you want a more advanced version, I'll be able to do that right now, and you can see a simplified version and an advanced version of that prompt. So this is just a neat little trick to work a bit smarter, or maybe it's a lazy way of doing this, but yeah, it's a good way to get more advanced versions of these prompts. If you want to, you can also tell ChatGPT to analyze, the wide variety of structures that is supported by frames. So you can take all of these structures over here, and the prompt I used was make sure to include subject, scene, composition, lighting, and mood with the prompts, and then it essentially, breaks everything down into those structures. So just a great way to bounce ideas off AI to get some ideas for generating prompts. I'm all about transparency and honesty on this channel, and if you guys want to generate images with frames, you have to have either the unlimited or the enterprise plan. So that means you are going to have to pay $95 a month if you want to access frames. I don't make the rules. That is what Runway has said, and I just want to be honest from the start so that you guys know how much you need to pay in order to access frames so that you can start generating images. So for this prompt, I'm actually going to use our ChatGPT prompt builder, and over here I'm going to use this prompt about our Shiba Inu that's relaxing on a pool float, and everything over here has been separated into various categories. So I'm actually going to use this prompt and copy it and then paste it over here into this box. And in this case, I can actually remove text because I don't need any text to be visible on this image, and this prompt as it is right now is going to work, and it's going to generate an image for us. So without adjusting any other settings, let's just click on generate. All right, and there we go. Runway is going to go ahead and use frames and start generating our first set of images. And as you can see over here, every time we click on generate, it's automatically going to generate 4 images for us. So these are the images I've generated, and just something to mention, at this point we can actually rename our session over here. So I'm going to just name this as tutorial session and just click on rename. So that means whenever I click over here for my sessions, I'll be able to identify it a lot easier. But here we go, we have our first set of images generated using frames. Alright, so now just to talk about the images, so remember we generated this without adjusting any settings. So there were no styles applied. This is just Runway straight out of the gate using our prompt, and it gave us these beautiful images. But now I want to talk about this value over here called aesthetics. So you can see that it's got an aesthetic range of 2. By default, this number is going to be on 2. So aesthetics is a way to control creative variation between your generations. And you can see over here on a value of 2, it's obviously respecting our prompt, but it's giving me variation in the pool floats. All right, which is great. It gives us more choice. But now if I had to put this value on 0, right, which is this set of images that have been generated, you'll notice that it's still respecting our prompt, but there's not that much variation in the actual pool float. So it's keeping the overall, I'd say, composition and elements a lot more consistent, and there's not that much creative exploration on 0. So if you want your compositions to be quite similar, you want to bring that value all the way down. But if I crank this value all the way up to 5, not only is it going to give me different pool floats, but it's going to give me different styles as well. So that's what this model is doing. You can see we've got realistic style, a more illustrative style. This one looks like a combination of, I don't know, like watercolor. So this is giving us variation in the style and even the pool floats. It depends on the aesthetic that you are going for. If you want to remain true to the composition and keep the elements the same, put it on 0. If you want more variation, put it on 5. Or if you want something that's in between, then you can leave it usually on 2 or even 3. But that's how this aesthetic range affects the way images are generated. So now that we understand the aesthetic slider, let's talk about styles. So you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of thumbnails over here, and whenever you see an image with a thumbnail, those are the default styles created by Runway. Now I've created my own, which I will also show you how to do later. But styles can be quite useful, but you have to be really strategic with the way you use styles to get the optimal result. So just to talk about that, for instance, with our Shiba Inu, I'm going to use the exact same prompt, but I'm going to select one of these styles. So I'm going to select sketch. And just by left clicking on here, it adds a tick and it adds the style over here at the bottom so that you know it's enabled. If I click on these 3 lines, it also tells me what's the name of the style and the prompt that's used to actually generate that style. So this prompt gets applied on top of your prompt. So they basically work in conjunction with each other in order to obtain that style. And that's why I said you have to be strategic, because if your prompt includes elements that contain color, or it mentions color, like in this case, I'm mentioning yellow, blues, and greens, but I try and use black and white contrast, my prompt over here might actually cancel out that style. So I might have to remove those elements that mention color to get the correct style. But in this case, I'm going to leave everything just as it is. I'll select sketch, and when I click on generate, these are the types of images it actually ends up giving me. And you can see that this style works perfectly in conjunction with my prompt. I didn't need to adjust anything in my prompt. I still got this beautiful sketch style with our super relaxed Shiba Inu, and you can see it works really well when the styles work in conjunction with your prompt. So to visually show you what I mentioned earlier about being strategic with your prompt and the style, in this case I left everything default, but I decided to use black and white contrast. Now in this case, with some images it actually did give me a black and white contrast, and it actually left in the color of the sunglasses, which looks really cool. But you can see some of these images actually contain color, and that's just not black and white. But if I actually remove the mention of color from my prompt, I'm going to get a black and white image, and that's the result of these images over here. So just remember, they work in conjunction with each other. If you're not getting that desired style, you might have to adjust your prompt. So now let me show you how to create your own styles. To do that, you simply just click on this plus icon, which is going to bring up this page. Now, remember I mentioned earlier about the frames prompting guide and why it was quite useful to read through this. And that's because it actually includes a list of styles over here that you can just copy and paste. All right, so in order to create a style, you literally describe in a bunch of keywords in order to obtain that style. So in this instance, let's say like this lo-fi style over here. Essentially, I just want to grab this text, right? Copy this and go back to Runway. So I can call this, I'll say lo-fi 2 because I already have a lo-fi style created. And you just paste the prompt in here. So you basically describing in text what the AI should generate in order to achieve that style, right? It's just like selecting some of the preset styles we did earlier. So you simply just click on create. Right, and then here on the left hand side you'll have your style created. Now you can't change the thumbnail or anything, but you will see your style. So I'm actually going to select lo-fi 2 using our prompt over here. Okay, and I'm going to click on generate, and it should generate an image that's in the style of lo-fi or something that looks similar to what we see over here. So here's the images that have been generated. So this image over here definitely looks more in line with the lo-fi style. And this is what I would end up using. But this is just a very easy way to create your own styles. And like I said, it's just using text to describe how that style should be applied onto the image. Now that we have images generated over here, I want to explain another very useful feature, which is called Vary. You can see if you hover over any image, Vary pops up. So Vary is actually extremely useful because if you like an image out of these 4 images, you can generate more images in that particular style and composition. So if I click on Vary, you'll see that it will give me 4 more images that are going to reference the composition and the style that was used over here, and it's just going to give me more variation. So that really comes in handy if you want to lock in to a particular, composition or style that was generated and just get more of it. So by using Vary, you can see it gave us 4 more images. Now, not every single image is in the exact same style. I think because this was generated with an aesthetic range of 2. But this image, however, or these 4 images you can see have the exact same, we will say, composition and colors from this image. So it's just giving us more variation. So it can really come in handy. And I also recommend using Vary if you are trying to lock in with a particular style and composition. Now, of course, if you like an image, when you hover over it, you can click on here to download. This icon, if you click on here, is basically going to take all of the settings that we use to generate these images and put it into the prompt box. And if a style was applied on here, it will also include the prompt for that style. If you don't like the images, you can just click on this to remove the output. And if you click on an individual image, you can also copy the prompt directly from here, but you can also see the other settings that we used for generating that image. Now there's another super useful feature on here, and you'll see whenever I hover over an image, it says use. So this is basically image to video. If you want to bring your image to life, click on this icon and it's going to switch over to the video tab. So by default, it should be on turbo, which is the fastest generation model. And yeah, it's just a matter of typing in a prompt over here. So I'll say a Shiba Inu on a pool float. Right, I can choose the duration of how long I want my video to be, so I'll just leave it on 10 seconds. I'm not going to adjust anything else. I'll just click on generate and it's going to bring that image to life. So this is almost like having an all-in-one package. You get to generate your images and you get to generate your videos. So it's quite awesome. And you also have access to other features that involve video, like we've got camera control. And if you guys want to learn more about camera control, Runway has its own guides on YouTube as well. If you want to learn more about these features, there's Act 1, which is facial tracking and performance. Probably wouldn't use that for a Shiba Inu. I'd use it for a human character. And then we've got expand video as well. So you can use all of these amazing features with the image you generated using frames. So I've clicked on generate, and let's see what our video looks like. So it generates the video very quickly, by the way. It's 10 seconds. I'll click on play. And there's our cute Shiba Inu now brought to life. And this is just the power of AI. It's amazing that you can do stuff like this. What was once a static image is now a moving video. So now that you know how to use frames, let me show you various use cases that you can explore. Frames does an absolutely amazing job at generating images of human beings, whether it's close-ups, medium shots, or full body shots. The images are going to look very realistic. Another thing that really stood out to me is diversity. So without being very descriptive with your prompt and maybe putting the aesthetic range on 3, those 4 images that get generated, each person is going to look like a different race or ethnicity, and having that diversity included in the model I think is a major plus. Also, another thing that really stood out to me is the skin texture. You know, the images of people over here don't look plastic, they look very realistic, and you can even prompt in other imperfections like moles. So if you guys want realistic human beings, Frames 100% excels at generating those images. Frames is super good at generating anything fashion related, whether it's editorial designs or someone walking on the catwalk wearing the most outlandish items of clothing. It can dream up some really incredible looking designs. So if you guys are into the world of fashion or you want to generate a model wearing clothing, it completely excels at this, as you can see with some of these examples, and I highly recommend you give fashion design a try. Frames also has very good prompt adherence and understanding of text that you supplied with. So if you want to generate text using the text to image model, you can get some really interesting results. You can type out a word and have it appear as something that's maybe made out of moss or out of fruit. And the way that it combines all of those elements together to actually make the text legible is very impressive. So give text generation a try as well. You can maybe create some interesting looking logos made out of text, but it actually does a very good job with generating anything text related. You can use Frames to generate logos, and now because it actually understands how to generate text within the image, you can have, a design element as well as the text, and all of that coming together to generate a logo. Now, of course, this is in, PNG and JPEG format. If you are a graphic designer, you'd want something that's more editable, like maybe SVG format. You can't export SVG, but this would still be a good a good way to generate ideas for logos that maybe you could recreate in Adobe Illustrator or somewhere else. But you can generate logos with Frames. So of course at the beginning we generated an image of a Shiba Inu, but Frames in general is very good at generating images of animals. Whether it's realistic looking animals or even some fantasy creatures, you can get some very interesting results. But if you are going for realism, that's probably where you are going to get the best results with Frames. You can generate, very cute images. Maybe you've got a guinea pig that's relaxing on the beach, or you've got a monkey that's driving a go-kart. You can go crazy with some of this stuff. Maybe some mythical creatures that are discovered in the depths of the ocean. You can have fun with just generating images of animals, and it does a very good job. Frames, of course, can generate images in various different styles. Maybe you want something to look like a collage or an oil painting or something that's anime. As long as you're prompting for that particular style, it's going to generate it for you, and a lot of the end results look really good. So give that a try and experiment with different styles. Frames actually does a really good job with generating images of architecture, environments, and even interiors. So you can get creative with your prompting and see what you can end up generating. It can do realistic environments, or it can do fantasy environments as well. So just have fun with the prompting and see what you end up creating. You can certainly use Frames for generating product design as well. Maybe you're generating an image of perfume or boots or sunglasses. Give it a try. But another really nice thing I like on Runway are these videos it can generate with these orbiting shots. And to do this is very simple. If you've generated an image, you simply just click on Use, which switches over to the video tab, and now you want to go to camera control, and over here just click on examples, and to get an orbiting shot you literally just select one of the presets. So there's a close-up orbit left. Now you can obviously give it more context over here, so you can say it orbits around the perfume bottle. Then once you've got that all in place, I'm going to use turbo mode, and if you click on generate, you are going to get these beautiful orbiting shots which work very well for product design. No AI generator is perfect, and this one can also run into its own problems. The thing I notice the most is that sometimes when you're generating human beings, you can get some very strange anatomy, or hands can be completely messed up as well. It doesn't happen all the time, but you can definitely get generations with messed up hands. So hands still seems to be plaguing us in the world of AI. Hopefully we'll reach a point where we can get perfect hands 100% of the time. But anyway, you still get great results, but keep in mind that you might get some bad looking hands. This is something that I highly recommend you guys checking out, and the link is in the description. It's called World of Frames. Now there's a whole bunch of images over here that have been generated by Runway, so this is a great resource for inspiration. For instance, if I click on this first image, you can see that it also includes the prompt. So if you wanted to create something similar, you've got the prompt right over there, or you can study the prompt to see how that image was actually constructed. But this is a fantastic resource for inspiration. You can see that they use Runway for so many different use cases, for text, for more illustrative styles, collages, realistic imagery, all of this beautiful imagery with amazing aesthetics. You can see there's even some anime over here. But if you guys want to get inspired, then definitely check out World of Frames. It's a fantastic resource by Runway. And again, the link is in the description. So my final verdict is that what Frames does right now, it does very well. It definitely generates beautiful images with amazing aesthetics. However, it does feel a little bit bare bones in terms of features, but of course they're going to introduce more features as time progresses. We definitely need some sort of style reference. I know we can create styles just by typing text, but I mean like the ability to upload an image and then it can analyze the style in that image, and we can generate other images based off that style. Midjourney can do this, so I feel like Runway definitely needs to introduce that as well. We also need some sort of image editor where we can do in painting or out painting. I think that would also be a great addition. However, what we do have access to right now is a solid product that works. Of course, there'll be some limitations because AI is not perfect, but Frames is a great feature. And if you guys have the funds to purchase the unlimited plan, go ahead, try this, and let me know what you think. As always, you guys are super awesome, so stay tuned for some more videos and tutorials, and goodbye.